Hello, and welcome back to Let's Play Dwarf Fortress. This is part 3 in the land of Amuggoden. And sorry, a bit of a delay in putting up this video, but I'd actually made a couple attempts at playing this. I had migrated my Dwarf Fortress game over to Linux. And while I didn't have any trouble in getting the game running, and getting Sound Sense running, getting Dwarf Therapist running, unfortunately the video capture utilities in Linux are really not up to par at the moment. So I guess for that purpose I will have to continue doing this in Windows to make these videos properly. Alright, and let's get going. First off, I have requests to name a dwarf Bushy. So I will do that. And let's see what dwarves we have available here. Since this is the first request, let's pick one of our nobles here. Okay, well our expedition leader is without a name, so we'll rename Sodel Zoniki Crossed to Bushy Zoniki Crossed. First let's find this dwarf, and he is here. Press C to zoom on the dwarf when you're in this menu that you can get to by pressing U. And he's right here. And let's go check on his properties. So to rename them, you press K to get this info cursor. You go over the dwarf, and you press Enter to view, and then Y to customize, and N to pick a nickname. You can just type in Bushy. And now we have this dwarf named Bushy Zonki Cross. Interesting name. Alright. So, last time we had began construction of this tower here. So, it seems our dwarves have produced 2 of the stairwells that we need, both downward stairwells on this level and upward stairwells on the one below. And now we can produce the floor or ceiling for the second level here. So, let's build the floor. Okay, we'll make it out of chalk, just like everything else in this tower. Okay. And we're also going to make walls on this level and make it into an archery barracks. But when you're producing a square ring of walls like this that are being built from the inside, you don't want to just put down all the walls at once, because what will happen is you'll tend to get into a situation where your dwarves won't be able to build the corner sections here, here, and on the other 2 corners. And this tends to occur because to build a wall section, dwarves need access from side access from adjacent tile, like this tile or this tile. So if you tell them to build this whole section of wall, occasionally they'll build these 2 walls before this one, and then they won't be able to build the corner. So it's best to tell them to first build the corner walls, and once those are done, to go and build the rest of them. So I will do that and also make everything out of chalk. Alright. Dwarves still have quite a bit of digging to do. I didn't let them go and do any digging since the last video, like I said I would, because I noticed that there are a few other things that we need to take care of. First of all, of primary importance is the food in this general stockpile here. These plants are not being placed into barrels, which is odd because right beside these plants we have empty barrels. So I'm not sure why the dwarves aren't placing them into the barrels. I suspect this is a minor bug where if the barrels are stored in the same stockpile as the plants, then the dwarves won't use those barrels for storage. So what I'll do is go down to our recently mined out kitchen area here, and I will put down a new stockpile for storing of plants. We'll go P for pile and F for food. And we'll just make a small temporary one here. Later on I'll make more specific stockpiles for particular kinds of plants. So let's customize this pile to make sure that it only stockpiles plants. Alright, and because we don't want it to stockpile prepared food, you need to press U and ensure that this prepared food isn't highlighted or isn't in the bright white font. Okay, so while we're working on this kitchen area here, or I guess the food preparation area, let's put down an actual kitchen and a still, as well as a farmer's workshop and a cairn, so we can get our whole food production underway. If you want to look at the food stocks that your dwarves have, you can press Z, and this will take you to this info screen. And right here is listed how much food we have, and we're pretty good for food now. Mostly it's plant-based because we have farms up and running, and we have a small amount of drink, but not a whole lot, so we may run out soon. So it's a good idea to get us still up and running to keep our dwarves well lubricated with booze. Okay, so to build a kitchen, you press B for build, W for workshop, and Z for kitchen. And we'll place the kitchen in this corner here. And to build a still, you press L. And we'll place it in the opposite corner. And we'll also need a farmer's workshop to process certain plants, such as, what gets processed in the farmer's workshop? The pigtails, which are used to make thread and cloth, as well as, I believe, query bushes. And when you process query bushes, you get rock nuts, which are the seeds for query bushes and are actually also food for dwarves, as well as query bush leaves, which can be cooked and provide a really good kind of bulk cooking item for your kitchens. So they're fairly useful. Down to farmer's workshop. And I'd like to put down a cairn right now. I think it's pronounced corn. Someone can correct that on me if I'm wrong. But unfortunately, to put down a cairn, we need a quern, which is a little confusing, but you basically need to produce, I guess, the cairn first in a mason's workshop. So let's quickly go down to our mason's workshop, our temporary one here, and tell them to make a cairn, which is Q. And we'll really only need one cairn, so we'll just have them make that one. Okay. So in addition to the cairn, I'm going to produce a few floodgates so we can get this waterfall for our dining room going. So press A to add task and L for floodgates. And I'll just make 4 for now, because I think that's all that we'll need. And then to make sure my Mason Dwarf is busy in other useful things, let's also make a couple doors, because those will come in handy for sure later. Alright. So with the floodgates and this whole waterfall idea and system, we'll also need some sort of mechanisms to control the floodgates. And to control the floodgates, we need our levers to turn them on and off, and to make levers, you need mechanisms which can be produced in a mechanic's dwarf's workshop. So press B to make a building, workshop, and then R is craft horse, it's T for mechanics, workshop. We'll just place that here temporarily. So we'll make out of chalk as well. Okay, and while doing that, I noticed that I never actually designated this throne room as a, well, not throne room, I mean our dining room. So I'll pick one of these tables. It's not fully mined out quite yet. So I'll redesignate it once everything's ready, but I'll just do a rough designation now. So press R to make dining room, and then just press plus to pick the size. It's pretty much exactly like making a bedroom. Okay, so you can see there is some overflow here into what will be our food storage area and into this hall, but that's okay. There is really no negative consequence to this, and the only time you'll ever notice this overflow is in this designation screen. If it really bothers you, what you can do is put down doors over here to the entrances, and then this flow for the room won't exit the room. Okay, and we'll also make this a meeting hall, because you might as well have the dwarves meet in the dining room and party where there's lots of booze and food. And now we have a new meeting hall, we'll just remove this temporary one. To remove a zone, you press I to go into the zone information screen, go over the zone, press X once to go to removal mode. When in this mode, if I were to press enter twice, I could remove an individual squares from the zone. However, if you press Shift X, it will remove the entire zone completely. Alright. So we have a mechanics dwarf workshop, but I'm pretty sure we don't have a mechanic. So I'll head over to Dwarf Therapist quickly and make a mechanic. So let's see who we have here would be a good mechanic. Well, I probably want to make one of these dwarfs into an archer, so let's check for dwarfs. Okay, so Zalban will be our first Mark's dwarf, so we won't make him a mechanic. So it will either be Minkot or Kossoff. Bomrek's a child, and children are pretty much useless, as we all know. So I will make the mechanic. Let's pick Kossoff here to be our mechanic. Actually, scratch that thought. I'm going to make Minkot the mechanic, because Minkot has farming, which is a pretty useful skill, so that will overlap with mechanic pretty well, because a mechanic probably won't be working all the time mechanic tasks, so it's nice to have a secondary skill. And I'll save Kossoff for a more primary profession that Kossoff will be devoted to entirely. Yeah, because Kossoff is a really good strand extractor, but that's a skill that we won't be using for till late in this game, if ever. So, and I'm not even going to touch upon what that does right now. If you're interested, you can read the wiki. It's not typically that useful. Okay, so Minkot will be a mechanic. And while we're at it, let's make Kossoff a second mason and stone detailer. We don't need 3 plank rattlers, so remove that skill. There's no point to remove strand extraction because the dwarf actually won't even be using it. And siege engineering probably won't be used anytime soon either, so there's no reason to remove that task as well, to make sure that they don't interfere with the masonry. Alright, that should be good. Let's get back to the game. And let's start doing some more stockpile designations. First, we'll do the food storage area here. And we'll put 2 separate stockpiles down. One for booze and one for food. And the reason why we don't want them all stored in the same stockpile is, let's say you make an excessive amount of food, for instance, and the food fills up the whole stockpile, then your booze won't go into the stockpile once it's full, and you'll have a stockpile that only has food in it, and the booze will actually build up inside the still, which is farther away. So it's far more efficient to have specially devoted stockpiles. So we'll make 2 food stockpiles. Go into these stockpiles, and then this one will designate as only being for booze, and booze is stored under drink plants and drink animals, and drink in this game just means alcoholic beverages. So remove everything else, including prepared food. And now we'll go into this food stockpile and we'll remove everything but prepared food, which we'll leave brightly highlighted here. And like I said in the previous video, I've constructed this area directly underneath our food production facilities here, so once food's done it can be brought down really quickly. So for that purpose I'll build a stairwell down in the wall here and an upward stairwell underneath to connect these two rooms. We'll go D for designation, and because we can just carve the stairwell directly out of the stone here, press J for downward stairwell and place it down here. But because on this level we don't have any stone to carve the stairwell out of, we're going to have to produce the stairwell through the building menu, not the designation menu. So you press B for build, Shift C, and U for upstairs. Apologize if I'm covering some of these things twice, but some of these features of the game are rather confusing, and they took, personally, I'd say for me, a little while to figure out, so I'm trying to be as helpful as possible. And if you feel like I'm going into far too much detail in these videos, just let me know and I'll skip over this stuff. Okay, as you saw or may have noticed there, it wasn't letting me put down those upward stairs, and that's because the stockpile is in the way, so I'm going to have to remove the designation over these squares first. And now I should be able to build the upward stairwell, which I can. Excellent. Okay, so we have, it seems like, everything taken care of on this level. Oh, except I've noticed this room here doesn't have a bed in it yet. So let's place down a bed. Alright. And are any of our new chairs done? They are, so we can put down some more chairs here. Just the one, okay. And let's see what's going on in other levels. Actually, first, I'll show you guys how to put down hotkeys so you can jump between levels really quickly, because I've noticed I've just been flipping through them a lot with these up and down keys, and it can get kind of confusing that way. So what you do is you press Shift H to go to the hotkey menu. You pick the key that you want associated with it. So we'll do F4, so we'll have a few levels in between this. And the main Z level 1, or gate, which is the one that your caravan starts on, which is automatically designated as F1. Okay, so after you press F4, you then press Z to make it zoom to this current screen position, and then escape. And now if we press F1, it will go to the main level and our level down here. So let's set some more hotkeys. I'll scroll down. Okay. And I think I'll designate this first level here that doesn't have chalk as our crafting area. And the reason I'm going to pick this level is because it's made out of a cheaper stone dwarite, and it's not as valuable. So it's probably better for making... I shouldn't say better, I should say it's worse for, sorry, I'm a little tongue-tied, for doing things like dining rooms and bedrooms and offices and facilities that nobles would need, because having nice stone walls makes your dwarves happy. So, okay, let's designate this as our future crafting area, and we'll make that F6. And just zoom there. And then let's go farther down, all the way down to the caverns, and set up one more hotkey. And we'll set it up right here, which is the first real open level of the caverns. Shift H, and we'll make this. Sorry, for a second there I tried to make the hotkey F8, and that paused the video, because I just realized that F8 is attached to my screen capture device, so I can't use F8. So we will use F7 for this level. Okay, and because of that, I may end up moving our crafting zone up 1 or 2 levels later, just so we have some space in between these. You can also use these Shift plus F1 to F8 combinations, but I'll try to avoid that as much as possible because it's just a little simpler just to not have to press Shift. Okay, and something I've just noticed is on this level, when we build the outlet flow for our waterfall, it empties out into open air here, and that exposes our fortress to the caverns here, which can have dangerous monsters. Of course, since it's just emptying out straight directly from the ceiling here, any monsters that can't fly won't be able to get up into here, but there are some very dangerous monsters that can spawn underground that do fly. So let's board this area up so they can't get through. So we'll surround it by walls on all sides except for one, which we will build a floodgate on to control water flow in and out, so we can open and close this. Okay, so we can't build the walls quite yet. First we need to build some floors, and I'll explain why. To build these corner walls, we need side access, like I've mentioned before, and we can't get that side access till we build floors to the side. So it's a little annoying, but we'll have to build floors first and then destroy them. So put some floors there, floors here, and I'm also going to build a floor right here, which will be the outlet for the water, because later on top of that floor we can build the floodgate. And I might even later destroy that floor and put down a grate, so that when the water flows down, anything that gets caught in it won't drop down into the caverns. Okay, and we will make it out of gabbro. Hopefully pouring all this water into the caverns doesn't completely flood them. I'm kind of relying on the fact that these caverns somewhere over here are probably connected to the side of the map, and this water can then flow out. But if that's not the case, I'm going to end up making a serious flood zone here, and I may have to connect them myself to the edge of the map. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm not going to try to deal with that problem till I know it actually exists. Alright. So, we've done a whole lot of designations here, so let's unpause and let the game run. And the game has instantly paused itself with its message, digging designation cancelled, damp stone located. And what has happened is that when this dwarf was digging out this mud, he exposed a stone, or I should say a region of mud, that was directly underneath this pond here. Now, this is only a warning, and it's not actually dangerous in this sense, because if we dig out this mud, there's still the floor in between this level and this level here, so the water won't actually flow down. So it's a little annoying, but we're going to have to continuously tell him to redig these squares every time that warning comes up. And again. I kind of wish that this warning didn't come up, or there was some way to turn it off in this situation. But that's okay, because there wasn't too much. And as you can see, it seems like our dwarves are coming and taking the food away to the second stockpile, which is nice, because then it won't start rotting, because your food needs to be in barrels, otherwise it'll start rotting. I've also heard that a food pile with enough food items on it won't rot as well, but I'm not 100% sure about that, so I'd rather not take the risk. Let's see if mechanic's shop is done. And it is. So that was quick. So now we can produce a bunch of mechanisms, and I'll take it to make a full amount because we will need quite a few mechanisms to control everything. So to make a lever and connect it to something, you need 3 mechanisms total. You need 1 mechanism to put down a lever, and then you need 2 mechanisms to connect it to an item. And we'll need to make 3 levers, 2 for 2 floodgates, and 1 for our bridge on top. So we'll need a total of 9 mechanisms. So it's a good idea to just produce as many as possible now. Bed has been placed down. So let's make a bedroom here. And it seems like our dwarves are moving the food into the appropriate storage area, which is nice. Let's see what kind of animals we have on the map. Horned owl woman and owl man. A bunch of otters and sponges, so yeah, nothing dangerous. There's nothing to catch in the central swamps. I guess. We have caught all the fish available. Oh, well, if we're catching fish, we might as well produce the facilities to use the fish, because otherwise we're just going to have a bunch of unusable fish building up. Okay. So, after you catch fish, you need to process it in a fishery. So, we'll put down a fishery by this pond here, because I think, yeah, there's some fish in this pond, which is odd, because it just said we're out of fish, but whatever. So, B for build, that's under workshops again, and H for fishery. And we'll put this down just outside here, right by this pond, and make it out of just some dwarf, because it's not a particularly valuable stone. And we'll put a stockpile beside it for raw fish, so they don't take the raw fish, move it down into our food stockpiles, then move it up here and then process it, and then move it, the processed fish, back down. So this will be a whole lot more efficient. And I accidentally made an animal stockpile, but I can fix that by changing the settings here. So we'll disable animals, enable food, and then disable everything but unprepared fish. And we don't want prepared food in there, so that should be good. And since we made all these new stockpiles now, let's make it so they're not storing all those items in this one. So we don't need this to store any prepared food. And we have stockpiles for unprepared fish, for plants, for drinks, and prepared food. And I've already removed seeds, so that is good. And we don't have stockpiles for, I guess, any of this other stuff, so we'll just leave it here for now. I'm just gonna let time run for a bit here. It's like our farming is coming along nicely. I'm guessing there's nothing being planted here because we're not producing seeds for the planting, which isn't too surprising since we don't have the farmer's workshop up yet or a cairn. But let's try to put a cairn down, see if any of our mason dwarfs have produced one yet. And they have, so place that right here. And let's tell our dwarves to make... No. I'm not going to tell them quite to make booze yet, because there's certain plants I don't want them to be making into booze right now, because it's strange in this game, but you only get seeds from the plants from certain ways of using them. So for instance, with plump helmets, you'll only get plump helmets spawn, which is the seeds for plump helmets, if your dwarves eat them. If you take your plump helmets and you brew them, you won't get seeds, which means you won't be able to plant anymore. So it's generally a good idea to make a little buffer pile just for methods for seed production. So I'll make a couple of those close to the areas where they'll be used in such a way for seeds. So we're going 4 crops. Let's make, 5 crops. So we'll make 5 piles, 2 here, and 1 actually we'll place up here, which is hard to see because it's underneath the stone. This one I've purposely placed the closest to our dining hall because I want it to have plump helmets in it and nothing else. Okay, have one for plump helmets, and unfortunately, because I've accidentally put down a bunch of animal stockpiles, stockpiles are set not to have any barrels, so to make them actually hold barrels for our food, we need to press Shift R, which will make the max amount of barrels. If you want to set a smaller amount of barrels, you can press lowercase E to go down and uppercase R to go up for the amount of barrels you want in stockpile. So I have to fix that on all of these stockpiles here. Okay, and then these 2 will be for things that we're currently farming that will need to be processed at a current to produce seeds, and these 2 will be for things that we're farming that will need to be processed at Farmer's Workshop to produce seeds. So at the kern, what's processed are pigtails. So we'll enable pigtails in this one stockpile. And disable prepared food. And here we'll enable cave wheat, which also needs to be processed at the kern to get seeds. And it seems like, oh, we don't want meat. Seems like I'm doing a ridiculous amount of micromanagement here in the kitchen, and initially the setup is, well, at least the setup I'm using is fairly intense micromanagement, but once you have this set up, you never need to worry again about seed production, about your food going into the right places. Like, everything just will move so smoothly. If you want more booze, just tell them to make more booze. If you want food, tell them to make more food, and we'll never need to worry about seeds. Okay, there's probably a better way to do this too, so if anyone knows, let me know. But I've had a few games where I've used up all of my for instance, pigtails brewing, and I haven't had enough to plant more seeds to get more, so I like to do this. Okay, and this one we will make for what? Okay. Query bushes. These query bushes get processed at the farmer's market. At the farmer's workshop. And this one we will make for, what's left? Oh, I think I just made a mistake. Pigtails are at the farmer's workshop, not the kern. What I'll want at the kern instead of the pigtails will be the sweet pods. So I'll have to go back quickly and fix that. It'd be nice if there was like a little side menu here that told you what these food items could be used for and where they're used, because memorizing all these things really takes a lot of time to learn all the fine details of this game, because there are so many food items and they all get used in various different ways. So, but I guess that's one fun part of this game. There's almost an infinite amount of discovery available in the detail, and I guess that's something that really attracts someone like me, especially, to this game. Because when I play games, I play them mostly for the discovery aspect, more than anything else. So I think this one was, no, that's cave wheat. Okay, and yeah, so we don't want pigtails here, we want sweet pods. Okay. And what we'll do is make these piles only give food items to their respective workshops. So that only once these piles are entirely full will the food items be taken and put in a stockpile where they'll be available for brewing or cooking. So to do that, we press G to give to an area, and we'll press that to give to a current, and then G again for this stockpile, give there, and this will give to Farmer's Workshop, and this will give to Farmer's Workshop. Okay, and this stockpile here, I'll actually move up closer to this area, so the food that's going to be processed into booze or meat at the kitchen will be closer to the area where it's needed. So let's remove this stockpile. Okay, and we'll put down one stockpile here for brewable plants, put one down for meat, for animal products, they'll be used at the kitchen, and one down for plants, they'll be used at the kitchen. And let's change the settings here. We'll just make this brewable plants. And because it doesn't tell me here which plants are brewable, I'm basically just gonna remove a few that I know aren't brewable from this pile, and then after this video is done, I'm gonna go into the wiki and just manually change that. So I know what's not brewable are query bushes, I think muckroot, no, bloated tuber was it, and valley herb, and definitely not dimple cup. There are a few others, but I'm not sure what they are, so I will take care of that later. Okay, and we'll make this stockpile give to these stockpiles so that these ones will get filled up before the brewing stockpile. And we'll also do that, and then this will give here, so brewing will be before food, and we don't need to worry about the meat one because meat's not processed at all at these things or brewed, so it'll just be a simple meat stockpile. I hope this isn't too confusing. Yeah. Okay, so this one will just be for meat storage. It's a good idea to make a separate stockpile for meat storage and plant storage, even if you're not going to do this whole kind of seed production setup I have. And that's because if you have a hunter, sometimes you might get way too much meat and it will fill up the stockpile entirely, and then you'll have nowhere to store your plants. So just be for meat. Prepared fish, which is just labeled as fish. Eggs. Let's do cheese. You can't activate cheese plant because there aren't any cheese plant items in the game. And also, I won't make fat, which is an animal product, go here because I like to save all my fat for soap production. That should be it. We could have also placed honey here, which is animal product, but I like to have my honey go towards brewing if I get any at any point. Okay, and then this stockpile here is gonna be for cookable plants. And there are quite a few that you can't cook. And they're pigtails, cave wheat, query bushes, and I know you can't do rope reed or dimple cups. There are a few more, but I'll once again have to go to the wiki and pick those out. But I've removed all the main ones. The rest of them, the only way we're going to get them is through trading or through harvesting, from gathering plants from outside or in the caverns. So they're not that important. And we'll disable everything else except for leaves, because the only leaf items are query bush leaves, and those can only be used for cooking, and flowers and sugars. So we'll disable the dyes and make the flowers go into this pile too. And actually rock knight paste I'll make come here as well, because that can be used for cooking. And yeah. Okay, and that is the end of my extremely anal micromanaged seed kitchen setup. I hope some of you found this useful and aren't completely bored to hell with me going over this. I apologize if you are. But it does prove very useful to have a setup like this. And now that this is all set up, I never need to worry about seeds again. And I've noticed my farmer's workshop isn't being built here. That's probably because we don't have any dwarves with a plant processing skill. So let's go give some dwarves that skill. Actually, I want to make sure that this gives to there. Okay. So, dwarf therapist. And who should do plant processing? Let's give that skill to our current farmer for now, because we have a secondary farmer here, so it won't be a big deal if this guy is doing that. And I guess no, I'll just make it this one farmer for now. And okay, that should be good. Oh, I almost did a big mistake. Oh, never mind. Seems fine. Okay, I've heard that the game can crash if you use Dwarf Therapist while the game is unpaused. Well, it's actually running, but I did there, and it doesn't seem there was any negative consequence. So, yeah. Let's see if someone will go here and make this farmer's workshop then. Farmer Dwarf might be busy doing something else. We have no idlers, so it seems making all this stockpiles really gave him a lot of hauling jobs for the moment. So we'll just let those jobs finish. But it seems like they're moving things into the proper piles, which is nice. And let's see if we have... Okay, with sweet pods here and cave wheat here. So we can now go to our current and tell them to mill these plants, which will give us food items that we can use. Give us milled plants, which we can use to produce food. So we'll press P to mill plants, and then if you press R on a task, it will make them repeat it indefinitely. And that will give us some seeds, so that these farms here will actually start regrowing the plants that are supposed to be growing this season. Because if we check these farms, yeah, this one's supposed to be growing pigtails now, so we don't have any seeds for those. And this cave wheat, so we don't have any seeds for those, and that's why it's definitely not happening. Okay, and in the stockpile here, looks like we have some floodgates, which are these gray boxes with white X's in them. So now we have those floodgates. Let's do some construction on this waterfall system. So we'll put one down right here. The water will be entering. So B for build, X, put down a floodgate. Get out chalk. And then we'll also put one down way down in the bottom here. So, okay, build X, and on top of this floor, which is now finished. And now since those floors are done, we can build the walls around them to completely seal off this level. Well, I guess we'll still need to destroy floors afterwards and build the sidewalls, but this is one step towards that task. Okay. And now we'll need some levers to control these floodgates. So let's put levers down. Okay, we'll need a lever for our entrance drawbridge here. So B for build. Shift T for the trap menu, which levers are under, and then L for lever. And we'll make it one level down. So that will ensure that if an enemy is close to the drawbridge that could potentially scare a dwarf away, that the dwarf will actually be able to pull the lever. Because it might seem like a smart idea to put the lever by the bridge, but your dwarf might be too afraid of something outside of the bridge to actually pull it. So we'll put it one level down there. And let's put the levers for the floodgates here for one for the inflow, and a second for the outflow, which will control the floodgate way down deep in the caverns. Okay, and while I was up here, I noticed that the fish aren't getting stored in barrels, and that's because there are no barrels designated to be put in this pile. So I'll press R to give him maximum barrels, and then tell my carpenter to make a few more barrels. Okay. Oh, and it's autumn now, which means that the first trade caravan will be coming soon. So I should build a trade depot. So I'll press B for build, Shift D, and put the trade depot down in this newly mined out room that I had previously made for it. I'll make it out of chalk. And beside that, let's put a stockpile. Oops, I accidentally put down a small farm plot, so I'm going to have to remove that first. Okay, we'll put down a stockpile for finished goods. So finished goods will be stored nice and close to our trade depot area here. Cool, and because we have finished goods there, we no longer want them to be stored here. And good. Dwarfs are now moving the finished goods upstairs. It seems like we actually have quite a few finished goods already that we had told them to produce earlier, so that's nice. It seems like our miners mining? No, our miners, well, one of them's storing items. I don't like when miners store items. Miners should be mining. So we'll go into Dwarf Therapist and tell those miners to not haul items. So they'll just be exclusively mining. Okay. Aren't completely done mining out this area here. This will be our turkey pens. So let's make some nest boxes for the turkeys. That is done in the Craft Dwarf workshop. So we'll just add these tasks on top. Make the nest boxes out of rock, because we don't want to waste wood on them. And we'll make 4 of them for now. And increase the priority above rock crafts so that they're actually produced. Oops. And there we go. So we'll use this half of the turkey storage pens for breeding more turkeys. And to breed more turkeys, it's a little unusual, but what you need to do is you need to put down nest boxes, and you need to also make sure the dwarves do not have access to those nest boxes. Because what happens is if there's a nest box present, a turkey will go and it will lay an egg in that nest box. Now the second that egg is laid, a dwarf will run up and pick up that egg and either eat it or take it to a food storage area. So to make sure that egg isn't actually eaten or used for food, you have to make it so dwarves can't get to the nest boxes. The way you do this is by putting down doors to your food storage area and then making it so that dwarves and animals can't pass through those doors. So I've put 2 down there, and I'll also put down 2 here, though they won't be really necessary because this will be our egg laying area. Okay, and the dwarves keep on stopping digging because, once again, they're finding damp stone. Doing this redesignating is really irritating. Okay, they're done there. See if we have any nest boxes yet, and we do, so that's convenient. Okay, just 1, so put it there. And also designate a pen here for our turkeys so they'll start laying eggs in these nest boxes. So because this room has a weird shape, it becomes more difficult to designate the zone, because to use the square method and designate that whole area, it would overlap with this area. Now I could put it down and then remove it manually, but there's a more efficient way to do it. So if you press I for zones and then E, you can change the designation method. And I'll go to floor flow here, pick an area here, and then press plus, which will make it just fill this space like that. And then we'll also make a second zone here for egg laying in a similar manner. Okay, and let's tell them to place our turkeys in this zone. I'm gonna place our male bird in there too, even though it serves no purpose. For male animals and female animals to breed in this game, they do not have to be present in the same room or area. You just have to have a male somewhere on the map. It doesn't matter where. But I'll put him there just, I don't know, I guess it's a little more realistic. Okay, and our second nest box. And then we'll have a couple over here too. All right, and it seems this video has gone on for a little while now. So what I will do is I will stop this here and post this video and then probably go right on to the second one, because I feel like playing this world a little longer because it's kind of a cool map and I really want to see what's going to happen here once we start to get traders and attacks by necromancers and stuff like that. Because all this initial setup, honestly, isn't my favorite part of the game. It's the battles that come on later. So let's try to get this going a little quicker. So I'll see you all real soon.